take heed in the fact that we investigate our own, in some cases even more vigorously because of who it is doing it. Again, a law enforcement officer is expected more than anyone not to do this.
Lee deputies tell NBC2 Wood may have committed the same crimes against other young boys.
At this point in time, there's indication that there may be other victims, and thus if anyone has been victimized, we certainly urge them to come forward.
We need to go forward because evidence becomes stale, memories become stale. Plus, you're causing the children to keep reliving this and going over it. They can't put it behind them.
Well, hasn't it hurt the prosecution's case that it's taken this long? I mean, if people go to get put on the stand, their recollection's not going to be what it was 3 years ago.
I would think that it would be better to get it to trial earlier than this. Definitely.
We talked about the CPT process yesterday.
The child protection team process, right?
And you explained they're only allowed to interview a child on that initial occasion.
Right.
With the deputy present.
A lot of times the deputy isn't even in the room. The deputy's standing on the other side. They have a mirror with the video camera through the, you know, looking through so that the camera's not right in the child's face. And a lot of times the child will, the deputy will be on the other side watching, listening, and then if they feel any other questions need to be asked, they relay that to the child protection team worker. Now with older kids, a lot of times, the deputy's right in there, but the majority of the time the deputy isn't because that can be intimidating for a child.
Well, it seems to me in this case, which is one of my questions, that the children were interviewed twice by the child protection team. Now, wouldn't they have to obtain a waiver from a judge in order to do that?
When were they interviewed?
I don't know the exact dates, but when I obtained parts of the file from the case, it appears as though there were 2 occasions when, I forget the guy's name, a former...
Are you sure you're not confusing it with the Department of Children and Family Services going out initially and speaking to the kids and then a child protection team interview? Because my recall, it's been a while, I haven't seen the file in a while. My recall was that Department of Children and Family Services sent a male worker out to initially speak to the children.
Was that a recorded interview?
No.
Oh.
Okay, and they went out and spoke to the kids at their home. Then based on the information that he got, there was a child protection team interview, which would be the normal process.
So there wasn't 2 by the child protection team?
When I had the case, no. Now, there could be an instance in which the child protection team feels like there was something they didn't ask and they may ask for permission, but I've never seen anything like that. I've never seen 2 child protection team interviews. In that case, my recall was that a counselor from Department of Children and Family Services went to each one of the boys' homes and interviewed them alone without a parent there. They're more, a lot of times, especially little boys, would be more free to talk. And based on the information that he received from his interview, a child protection team video was done.
I see.
And now there were a lot of, in this case, there were allegations of perhaps other victims, and they had to be interviewed. That's a lot of the things that I did while I had the case.
I see.
Interview other potential victims, and then again you have, especially when you're dealing with young boys, you have an instance where the boy does not want to disclose. Younger girls are more likely to disclose than younger boys. The boy doesn't want to disclose because of embarrassment, because I did interview I guess he was probably about 12 or 13 at that time, and I felt very positive that he had been molested by Mr. Wood. I didn't get that out of him. I didn't get enough evidence to go forward on it.
Was this the Jimmy Snow interview, or are you referring to Jimmy Snow? I'm not using anybody's name.
Right, there was Jimmy Snow, and then there was a Dustin or a Dusty somebody.
Doobie?
Doobie, yeah. Doobie definitely is one of his victims, and the Snow Boy too, both of them. But there wasn't enough to prosecute those.
Was there a CPT tape on Jimmy Snow?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
There was never, he never made it, he never came forward with an allegation. Just from interviewing other witnesses, knowing Mr. Wood's M.O. on how he lures kids in, gave me the feeling that, and in speaking with the children, with the children's parents, after speaking to, the little boys involved with the case, it was definitely there. And I believe there was, hey Marianne, you can come in. I believe there was a witness that saw Mr. Wood fondle the Snow Boy. I'm not sure.
You're talking about Skylar?
Yeah, I believe he thought he saw him fondling the Snow Boy.
But there were some discrepancies from what I read in the file about not so much the timeline, but I guess I'll call it the witness line. People that they said were there when these alleged events took place. But if you looked at where these people were, as far as whether they were in town or out of town, there were some discrepancies between the statements of the boys.
Between the 2 boys? Well, you're dealing with young boys. How old are they? And how old are
13 around the time?
No, the other one's much smaller.
Oh,
there was
really?
a difference in age. The older boy, I think, was maybe 12, and the other one was much smaller, and he's got attention deficit.
Okay. So I guess you have to look at the totality of the evidence.
And the boy Doobie is very, very loyal to Ardenwood.
Well, they're still friends as far as I know.
And he buys his bikes, he takes, when you see a man of that age befriending a boy, have no girlfriends, befriending a boy, taking him around with him constantly, buying gifts for him constantly, would that not raise your eyebrows?
Not on face value, no. He's an enthusiast of the sport, and he likes kids. I mean, I wouldn't look at that and say...
It's his whole life. It's the man's whole life.
It is.
He's got nothing else in his life. He's got women around him, whole life. And what
I
do
had the
these...
impression from talking to him that he
Yeah.
really completely
It's his
wrapped up in
whole
the
life.
sport.
It's not just the sport. It's the young men.
Do you remember when
He didn't ever have little girls on his teams now that he sponsored.
I wasn't aware of that.
No, he never had little girls on his teams that he sponsored. Because he sponsored teams.
Do you remember one of the kids, Skylar, his mother said that, well, Biff would come pick him up from school all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And things of that nature. And then from there they would go to a race perhaps in Tampa.
Mm-hmm.
Did you ever call the school to confirm that that was the truth?
No, he admitted that he did.
He admitted that he would pick him up?
Yeah. He admitted. That's what he does. And it's always only young boys.
So you're pretty convinced of his guilt from the way you're talking. I guess that's what a prosecutor
It's not a, well, I'm not a prosecutor anymore, but
so you're probably like swaying toward the other side.
no,
slowly
in
but
that
surely.
case, I feel very confident that he molested those boys.
Why is that? Just from the testimony of the boys?
From the working with the boys, from observing him going to these BMX races and observing him. He was told by Judge Anderson at one point, as part of his release, that he had to stay away from the BMX track. So he went and he took his camper and he parked it. The BMX track is right here. There's a field around it. He went and parked it over on the end of the field and sat in his camper over there instead of listening to the judge. And then their defense was, when I went to the judge and said, look, he's still going. You've court ordered that he stay away from the BMX track. This isn't all on record, is it?
No, this is just, I mean, have you started rolling?
Yeah, I'm rolling.
Okay.
Oh, God, what do you have on there? Because we've used names of the boys and all kinds
No,
of
I
stuff.
understand I have to redact any name of the boy. I mean, this is all confidential as far as the people involved other than Biff. No one's going to know who any boys are or their mothers.
Okay,
or
you didn't
anybody's
tell me
name.
we were rolling. I thought we were discussing the case. Let's stop.
Why are we stopping?
Because I said, this isn't on record, is it? And you said no, and I don't know how long you've been rolling. I don't know what you've gotten. I thought we were discussing the case.
You mean the things we just discussed you couldn't say on camera?
Well, no, now I feel like I've been tricked. What do you have on here so far?
Why do you feel like you've been tricked?
Because I told
we
you,
brought a
let's
camera and
discuss
we
the
set it down.
case. And I asked you point blank, we're not getting this on record, and you said no. And now I don't know when
You
he
mean just
started
now?
rolling.
When you asked me that?
No, a little while ago. What do we have
As soon
so
as I
far?
turned the light on, it was rolling.
So our whole conversation has been on tape.
Is that a problem for you?
Yeah, that's a big problem for me.
Why?
Because I was not aware of that, and I distinctly said to you, we're not putting, this isn't on record, is it? And you said no.
No, you didn't say that.
Okay, no.
When you first said that,
I'm not authorizing you to use this tape at all.
I don't understand the problem.
The problem is, I thought you and I were having a discussion just now.
We
I
were.
even said to her, oh, you can come in not knowing I'm on tape. I thought we're discussing the case. Then I explained to you the process I used with Rosh. Then, after we discussed the case, we would do an interview, and that's not so.
So you want to end the interview right now?
Yeah, and that's not going to be used. I'm not authorizing you to use what's on camera right now at all.
Why?
Because I distinctly asked you, this isn't on yet. And you said to him, and he shook his head, no, I don't
Wait,
know when
do
he
you
turned
remember that?
it on.
No,
In the beginning, you
in
said,
the beginning,
we're going to have a discussion first, which I said fine.
Which
And
we're
then we said-
having a discussion.
Right, and then I didn't
I
say
even
Scott
said,
start
don't put
rolling.
this on yet.
I didn't say Scott start rolling. I
Right.
wasn't aware that he began rolling or
Well,
at what
he
time
has.
the discussion
I
began.
know.
I just,
And he has, and I don't know what, no, this,
I wasn't under the influence that there was this pre-meeting thing. I'm sorry. I
this,
just started
this was,
rolling.
I was considering our pre-meeting.
I don't know of any pre-meeting. My job, I just picked him up and I just started rolling. I didn't realize you guys had a pre-meeting thing. I'm sorry. Sorry.
Okay, well, I'm not authorizing you to use what's on tape right now. If I need to call the station, I will. I don't mind discussing the case with you and giving you an interview. I told you I could talk in generalities. We now have been discussing the case, facts of the case, names in the case, and at the beginning of this interview I told you on camera I would not discuss specific facts in this case. that I did not feel comfortable doing that. I don't know how you were able to read the file. Perhaps the family gave it to you, but I'm an officer of the court. I am not going to discuss facts of a child abuse case that are confidential that now, since I'm not on the case anymore, I can't even pull the file and look at. Not going to discuss specific facts in the case. I made that clear from the beginning.
Okay.
Okay? So I don't know what I need to do for that not to be used, but that's not going to be used.
So you wish to end the interview, or do you want to discuss the things you can discuss?
I don't mind discussing. Will you turn that off?
Yeah, fine. I mean,